Good.
Hey guys, welcome to the third meeting we've had so far this year. Today we got Joey Natour from Dinetouch. You heard about it. A little background. Last May, Joey graduated from UT with a degree in management and an entrepreneurship collateral. In 2011, Joey, along with his freshman roommate Seth Elliott, won the UT business plan competition for mobile devices, or for their idea, which is actually business plan competition is coming out, but I'll talk about that later. Dinetouch is a restaurant ordering application for mobile devices. They then went on to win $10,000 from the Boyd Venture Fund. They since have taken their idea to Cafe 4 to do beta testing, which went successfully. The duo is excited to continue moving forward towards fully launching their product. Please welcome Joey.
I've done this before with an older crowd, and I'll tell you the same thing I told them. I by no means claim to be an expert, but for the last 10 months, I've been living, breathing, being an entrepreneur. And is there any entrepreneurs in here who have their own business or want to own their own business? So a lot of people in here. A little bit about how the idea got started from conception to implementation, which is probably the hardest part. When I was in a class with Tom Graves, most of you probably know him. He's a decent fellow. I had this idea. I knew I wanted to do something with the restaurants, and I thought since it was a class, might as well have fun with it and do something with technology. I wasn't that great of a technology savvy person. I did have a cell phone and an email address. That's really about it. So I decided that every time I went to a restaurant, I went for one thing. I went for like drink specials, and I went for food. If the service was okay and the food was great, then I still wasn't going to the restaurant for food. So I decided, how can I cut the middleman out? And thought of, at that time it was called Dinetech, where you order, pay on an iPad. Because iPad 1's just coming out then. So told the idea to the class, I presented to the class, everyone hated it. Mr. Graves said he don't think it would work. They bashed my idea, they told me to change it. I said, I like the idea, I'm not going to change it. So every time I submitted an assignment or I talked to the class, I still get the same feedback. I could barely talk. They were just bashing my idea left and right. Well, you're going to lose jobs, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. I was advised from the teacher to change it for my grade-wise. I kept the idea because I liked it, and I knew that it could work. So our last assignment was a 20-minute presentation where I got to talk and nobody else could talk for once. No feedback, it was just me, a PowerPoint, and everyone had to listen to me. So after the 20 minutes, I could see in people's faces that they'd been wrong for one whole semester and how this idea held some water. And all the questions they asked me, when I went presented, every single second before that presentation, I wanted so bad just to prove everybody wrong. It was my senior year, last semester. I just wanted to rub in their faces how good of an idea this was and how dumb they were for not even listening to me. So I did that, and I got a decent grade in class. I believe I got a 92, so it's okay. And he advised me at the end of the competition and possibly win $5,000. And I was like, great, that's a trip to Vegas for me. That's awesome. So, and there's a lot of things about you learn outside college that you don't learn in college, but there's a couple things you do learn in college. And the one thing I learned through my management major was you guys surround yourself with good people. People that don't think like you. What's the point of having someone who thinks just like you on your team? So this is a technology-based, heavy technology-based company. So I needed a tech-savvy person. My freshman year, I met my college, he was my roommate, and I didn't know him at all, but he grew up to be a great computer science major. He graduated 4th from university, had several internships all over the country, doing what he was developing and system administration, stuff I had no idea about. So we ended up going through the whole process of all the interviews and all the presentations and all the business plans, and we won that competition. And we decided that we would incorporate Dinetouch and make it a business. And school is very much a hobby. Once you graduate, people ask you what you do. You tell them you started a technology business, they look at you like you're an idiot. While you're in school, they encourage you. But as soon as you graduate, you're a dumbass for doing what you're doing. And so people like that will come around, or they might not come around. Who cares, right? So you just gotta keep on doing what you do. We entered a Boyd Fund competition. At that time we were beta testing Cafe 4. We were up like 3 hours, 3 nights straight, no sleep, developing our software for the restaurant. The night before the presentation, about 8 o'clock is when I started the presentation, because I was so busy working. It was me in a small office that Cafe 4 let me use, and a fifth of whiskey. It was that kind of night. But for the first time in Dinetouch's history, I had a story to tell. It wasn't assumptions or predictions or this is what we're going to do. We had facts, results, and stuff that we were doing. So that was pretty exciting, and it made things a lot easier. Because when you're telling a story of your company, it's not about numbers and bullet points. You got to tell a story from the beginning, how it creates value, and how the end user is going to benefit. That's all that matters. All the numbers, the projections, and big graphs, and the huge numbers, that stuff comes later. Because right now, if you do that now, you have no idea. So for those of you who want to have a business, I encourage you to think about the value. I know people in business school, you take marketing classes, they emphasize that. It's so cliche, add value. But that's so important and so true. No one's going to buy a screwdriver if it can't drill a hole, right? No one's going to buy a fancy car if it has an engine. Because we buy a car to go from point A to point B. So my presentation was 3 slides, 2 of which had our logo, and 1 was a testimony from a customer. I stand up here in front of 6 judges like this and talked for 10 minutes and told our story and told them why we needed the money and what we did so far from the business competition. And they told us that $10,000 can go to either 10 companies, so a company could get 1,000 and 2,000 and 3,000. And I remember, like it was yesterday, Seth and I were sitting in our room just talking some stuff out, and we got an email saying we've received all 10,000. That was pretty huge. That's a lot of money. We didn't graduate with a lot of money. That 10,000 allowed us to work Dinetouch full time without taking part-time jobs or even thinking about anything else. So then we were in a restaurant, beta testing. We had money. It sounds good, but really that's just a start. Like, what do you do with the money? How do you go from one restaurant to making it better? Well, my management skills came in again, and I surround myself with good people. We established a board of advisors. It's a 5-member board that ex-CEOs, current CEOs, millionaires, I mean, for some reason they took an interest in us, and we were very fortunate to have them on board. They give us advice, we meet them all the time, they put us in front of people, and we get involved. There's a company out there called Tech 2020. It's a Tennessee incubator made for people like us to take an idea, help turn into a business. So Tennessee to Nashville, Knoxville, and Chattanooga, we're big on entrepreneurship. So I encourage all you guys to make sure you get involved. Because I got involved in a program called Throttle Up. And I was invited to pitch at this conference here that was in Knoxville. And if you won that, it was $5,000. The guy before us was presenting for body armor for the military. He was about 45 years old. He had contracts already. And Seth and I are by far the youngest people there. I get up on stage, our PowerPoint doesn't work, our audio for our video doesn't work. So I'm back to square one. I'm up there in front of 300 people, 3 judges, and nothing's working. So you go back to your basics and you tell your story. What are you doing? Why should you care, and why should you trust me? And it's really that simple when you're trying to present. And overall, it's not that simple, but when you're presenting and you're telling people about what you do and why you're doing it, it is that simple. So we won that. So that's $20,000 of free money we got. So things are going high. Like we're on cloud 9. We're just running through all the competition where people are getting excited about us. And then late November, we hit a huge bump in the road. I'm talking like a brick wall. There's no end in sight. Where it involves, you guys know the point of sale system in restaurants where the waiter has to type in the credit card numbers. Well, we have to integrate with that, so that prevents the restaurant from using two systems, our system and their system. And we couldn't integrate. So for 2 months, we were absolutely stuck. We got nothing accomplished, and we got invited to another competition, and I guess they saw through the bullshit and how we were stuck and we didn't win. So not only were we stuck for 2 months, our reign of dominant competition just came to a halt. It was a hard time. Work wasn't fun. We dreaded work. Instead of working from like 8 in the morning to 10 at night, we started working from like 9 to 5. We weren't enjoying what we were doing. It was frustrating. Everything we tried to do, it has already been done. We didn't have resources to do. It was bad news bears, and our future was looking pretty grim. But as an entrepreneur and as being just out of college and you're resilient, you're a little arrogant, have that swagger, when the shit hits the fan, you gotta stand tall with your chest out, chin up, and you gotta keep swinging, because if you don't, you're done. And nobody's telling me my company's done unless it's me. So you have a barrier. We had a huge barrier, and we decided we had to find a way to do it, to fix it. And I met with our board of advisors, and they advised me. So took about 20 phone calls, 10 emails, a couple of phone conferences, and sure enough, we integrated with a POS company that has 20,000 restaurants. That happened about 3 weeks ago. In addition to that, we got offered to present at the Southeastern Venture Capitalist Conference in Virginia, in Washington, D.C., where I will present in front of 800 venture capitalists on March 1st. And again, even my board advisor said, if you don't get accepted to this, don't feel bad. The founder of Open Table will be there. The founder of Netflix will be there. The highest paid company, most richest company there has revenues of $800 million, trying to get money to IPO. We're by far the smallest company there, but I'm going to go on that stage and I'm going to tell my story. And I'm going to attract VCs, so once we get to a point, we'll get that funding. So the moral of that story is it's a roller coaster. It's nothing, it's not linear, it's not 9 to 5 where you just take an hour lunch break. It's a roller coaster. Every day is a little different. And as a big part of managing Dinetouch, and as a CEO, your role changes too. From designing to presenting, from meetings to getting your company on track, your role changes, and you're learning every day. I graduated with no idea how to write code. Now I can. Not as good as my partner, but if he needs me to do something, I can write code. With Google these days and all these websites, there's no reason why you guys can't learn to do anything. And I didn't want to pay for an accountant, so I wrote my own tax returns. And that's not easy. Doing your taxes on your personal level is one thing, but as a business level, where you have to talk about all your expenses and write-offs and all the taxes and all the grants you receive, it's not easy. So I mentioned a little bit about how I pursued it and how I got involved, and you surround yourself with good people. That's the kind of things I learned in college. Some other things I learned in college that are very important is, like I said, value. If you guys take any marketing classes, I know with Mark Moon, he keeps saying, value, 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 and it becomes so cliche, but it's so important. And while you guys are thinking about your business and what you guys want to do, you guys need to make sure that there's a problem to be solved, that you don't just come up with a cool idea and try to find a problem for it. You need to find a problem and you need to fix it to change people's lives, make it better. So if you guys ever had a bad experience at a restaurant because your server sucked, using Dinetouch will fix that. So again, it's that simple. Like, is anybody going to spring break anywhere? Where are you going, K-Ray?
Memphis.
You going to Memphis?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you had the choice, what's your dream car?
My dream car?
Yeah.
Rolls Royce or something?
Okay, I asked the morning myself. What if I gave you an option to drive to Memphis in a Rolls Royce or a Ford Focus? The Ford Focus is it's a pretty lame car, in my opinion. I'm sorry if you know it's a Ford Focus. But you have a Rolls Royce and a Ford Focus. You have to get to Memphis because that's your end goal, right? To get value in your life, you need to go back to Memphis. Go visit your family and get that nice home cooked meal. But the Rolls Royce has no engine. Which car are you picking?
Oh, no.
You gotta get to Memphis.
Yeah, obviously the Focus, yeah.
Right, even the Rolls Royce has all the features and the horsepower and the sound
I could get a
system.
toad and ride in the back.
But the point is you guys don't pay for features. You guys don't pay for a fancy toothbrush if you can't brush your teeth with it. So when you're thinking about that, I had a hard time with this. When I was writing my business plan and all my executive summaries, that's been changed probably 10 times in the past 10 months. Is don't worry about the features just yet. Make something that works and that's effective and does what it says it's going to do and that changes people's lives for the better. Then worry about the bells and whistles. Secondly is networking. That's not a cliche word. While you're in college, I guess you have a decent amount of opportunities to meet people and take advantage of their knowledge. When you get to the real world, your opportunities become even smaller because you don't have professors, you don't have other classmates, it's you and your buddy in your small little office behind computers. So that's why it's so important to get involved and, like I said, Tech 2020, get a good board of advisors on your team, get you in front of people. I've talked to so many millionaires and on one occasion a billionaire, so many, it's absolutely ridiculous that they would take time and listen to me. But the truth is that people do want to listen to you because you're young and you're passionate, and if you have a good idea, that's even better. So get out there. You guys can get in front of anybody you want to. CEOs, it doesn't matter. You guys can do it, and if there's a will, there's a way. Once you do find your customer base, you really do need to listen to them. I thought the iPad idea was the coolest thing in the world, and I kept hearing the same thing from everybody, especially restaurants, and I met with executive management team for Ruby Tuesdays, Applebee's, and Creole's Grill. And they told me the idea, they've been thinking about it, they love the idea, but they can't justify the ROI on buying the iPads. Ruby Tuesdays had $30 million in free cash last year. Free cash is everything's paid, you've already put money in R&D, they had $30 million, they weren't even too sure what to do with it. So they ended up buying back their own stock. With $30 million in the bank, and they couldn't justify an ROI in buying iPads. So, that kind of says something to us, and as much as it hurt, we changed our idea from iPads to smartphones. Everybody has a smartphone, and restaurants don't have to pay. So you can go to a restaurant and do all the same things that we have been doing, but now just on your iPhone. So on this little guy, the restaurant doesn't have to pay for, and most of you guys already have one. So you can order, pay, make requests all through your iPhone as opposed to iPads. It hurt me to do that because my idea that we've done so well with, we worked so hard for, was pretty much just kind of denied. I think it's too early for its time, but you have to suck it up and listen to your customers and listen to people. And it's not easy to do that, but if you want to be successful, you have to pivot your idea and adapt. And that's what we did, and for the past 3 weeks, that's what we've been doing. And things have been going good, and all the opportunities have been coming our way, but it's up to us just to make it happen. And as you guys who do want to start a business, you guys have a good advantage because you probably have a good 3 or 4 months after you graduate to where that still holds water, where you can just say, I just graduated. When you're like me and 10 months out, no one cares. I'm old now. I had my college time, I'm done. But you guys have a good, exploit that. Oh, I just graduated, and it helps, everything helps. And it's not easy at times when you're all by yourself and you have no idea what to do. So exploit it as much as you can. You guys have so many database resources that people have to pay thousands and tens of thousands of dollars for. Companies hire interns from UT just to have their username and password so they can access these databases from the library. So by all means, use them. I use my roommate's username and password for all these databases. I mean, you can get anything you want. You want to know any stat about anything. IBIS World, do you guys even use that? You guys use that? You should. Everybody should. I can tell you to the cent how much money was spent on anything, using anything. It's actually retarded how awesome this is, and you guys have. So exploit the fact that you're in college and get involved. The business plan competition, I believe, is in spring. Is that right? Spring, you know? So do that. Don't take it lightly, because we had 100 applicants when we applied, and out of that, they only selected 10 to go on to the next round. So, I mean, like anything in life, it's not easy. But, yeah.
Was it, when you entered it, did you just have the idea, or did you already have like, I don't know, like a beta version?
No, when we entered it, we had a 2-page summary.
That's it?
That's all they asked us. And they take the 2-page summary, and you go on the next round, and you submit a business plan. I wrote half the business plan while on spring break, so that I wanted to win. I put it on the beer cans for a couple of days, and I wrote half a business plan. We submitted a business plan, and after I look at that, then you go present. And like with anything, when you talk to VCs or other people, you have to know what you're talking about. When I got a phone call unexpected from a VC in Nashville through the Tennessee Fund, he was pleasant. We had like a 5-minute conversation about the weather and how volunteers suck lately. And he asked me about 30 questions in about 2 minutes. 80% I answered accurately and confidently. 20% I bullshitted, but I answered confidently. You have to. You can't say, or you're not too sure. You're the CEO. You're the boss. They look at you, and you're supposed to know everything, whether it be technical questions. So you have to get everything in order and be organized. And the quicker you do that, and the faster you do that, you're better off. Because if someone doesn't take you seriously the first time you meet them, they'll put you off until you get something going. And that's not a good feeling. I've had that feeling. But to answer your question, we had a prototype during the finals. It was very simple. You order something, and I had an iPad. When I ordered something, it showed up on the screen as I waited in the kitchen of the restaurant. So it was very simple, but I guess it allowed them to actually did something. Yeah. So have business plans and all that. I mean, don't get too fixated on that. The business plan I wrote for class was garbage. The business plan I wrote for competition was garbage. Because you learn so much through writing styles and being more direct and getting to the point. Because nobody cares about specifics. They just want to know, boom, 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 what it is. Why is it great? Why should I care? How does it make money? So that's what I want to know. So get that in order quickly, so when people do ask you questions, and you're 22 years old and look at you like you're a stupid kid trying to do something, impress them. You have to wow them, because passion only gets you so far. And they'll see your passion, and they'll love you for it, and they'll be inspired by it, and they'll sympathize with you. But for the bottom line, they don't know what anything to do with you, because you can't provide them with any benefits, mutual benefits. Business is a game of feeding off each other and trying to get the upper hand without letting the other person know about it. Our board of advisors, as much as I would love to think is they just love us and they want to help us as much as they can, I know 15% in the back of their mind is saying, hey, if these guys get investment and I become board of directors and these guys make it big, they're going to get something out of it. And that's just the truth, and I'm okay with that, because I'm using them up as a resource, sucking them dry for all it's worth. I throw their name around all the time to get my foot in the door. That's just how it is. And you don't have to be mean about it. You can be nice about it and put a smile on your face. But it's tough out there. People don't care about you. They care about what you have to offer and how much money you're going to make. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, you can still get yours while people look down on you. So is there anything else you guys want to know more about, like post-college life? Because it is very different than college life. Yeah, sure.
Did you say you incorporated?
LLC.
Okay.
A couple of reasons. LLCs, you don't have to have an official board of directors. You can classify them as board of advisors, board of directors want a piece of the action, and they want to help manage.
Okay.
But big companies like Amazon and Pilot are LLC, so you don't have to be INC to be a big company.
Okay.
Yes.
Are you still testing now, or did you start selling, or is it like?
Yeah, right now we're still developing on new software. Right now, before at Pete's, we've been web-based. We've been a web-based application, which is pretty much a modified website to fit on the iPads and iPhones. So now we're making actually an app on the iPhone and Android device for several reasons. And selling, when you say selling, that sounds easy, but you know, are you gonna get a sales force? Are you gonna go through resellers, distributors? And if you go through a distributor, you know, who are you gonna go with? They want to cut, and you come up with an agreement. So it all sounds easy, but you learn there's so much more to that. Like he just said, are you guys selling it? I'm too busy to go door to door at the restaurant selling this. And salespeople are too expensive right now. So what we decided to do is partner with a distributor, and we have one lined up, the Hospitality Retail Solutions. They cover 4 main regions, and they have about like 300 restaurants. So that's not going to cut it. 300 restaurants for a high-growth technology company isn't going to cut it. So that's just a piece of a pie that we want to get started with. Anything else? Yeah.
So your board of advisors, yeah, how did that come to be, I guess, if they're not right now getting any sort of cut or a promise of a cut in the future?
Well, right now, like I got involved with all these competitions. That's how I met 3 of them. I have the CEO and president of Tech 2020. He gives me about an hour a week. He's busy. I have Lynn Youngs. He's the executive director of the Anderson Center for Entrepreneurship Innovation. I have Chris Miller. He's a VC for Meredith Ventures. He's pretty helpful. I have Todd Fisher. He's ex-CEO of Anti-Grow, and he is now the program director at Tech 2020. So they like the idea, and they have to like you too. You can't be a joke to people, right? And so, yeah, that's we asked them, and they've been helping us. I mean, I meet with them. I meet with 1 or 2 of them every week. I call them and email them all the time. I mean, we with close connections. I'm going to a conference in Nashville when I'm presenting in April because John Morris, the CEO and president of Tech 2020, recommended me to their committee. And they looked into us and they accepted us. So having people like that, you know, it's good. John founded a company in 2002 called Net Learning, sold it for millions, became another CEO of another company, sold it, and now is the CEO and president of Tech 2020. So having people like that, credible sources, and you can throw their name around it, it's very important. But you got to treat them good. You know, make sure you appreciate what they're doing, and you have to produce. The moment you start to slide and you show discouragement, so will they. So positive attitude, be happy, and always be enthusiastic with them. And that's what I've learned. That's what kept them interested. Things get bad, you can't let people know it got bad. Because if you show it got bad, then they know it's bad. They don't have to know anything. It's your company. So all they know, you're flying high, you're doing great. That's what you want people to know. Because no one wants to take part in a company that's doing bad. Nobody wants to buy something if you're doing bad, right? They don't have to know that. Just keep a smile on your face and tell your story.
Any competition or any similar apps you've seen?
Yeah, there is a company called Tabbed Out where you can pay while you're in a restaurant through your smartphone. It's just paying. There's a company called Snapfinger where it's to-go ordering on your smartphone. And with the guy in Nashville, I told the guy in Nashville this, he goes, okay, that's great. To not directly compete with you, so you do something a little different, but what's preventing them from getting into your market?
Nothing.
What's preventing them from getting into your market? Snapfinger's got 11.4 million in funding. Tabbed Out's got $7 million in funding so far. They started in 2004. They are, what, 6 years ahead of us, roughly, a little more than that, 6.5 years ahead of us. They started in 2004. We started in 2011. So my response is it's been 6 years for them, and they haven't even got a foot in the door in their market. Who's heard of tabbed out here? Who's heard of Snapfinger? About tabbed out or Snapfinger? You haven't heard of tabbed out? Who else has heard of Snapfinger and tabbed out? Exactly. My response is it's been 6 years. They've got $11 million in funding, and I guarantee about 2% of people know about this. Tabbed out, in 6 years, they have 300 restaurants. It sounds a lot, but 300 is nothing in the world of instant. I mean, granted that this smartphone situation is still kind of new, but I'm confident to say if I had $11 million in funding, we would have more than 300 restaurants. And with bigger companies, with more people and bigger funding, it takes them 2 hours to turn their neck. With 2 guys in a small office, we can change in a heartbeat. We changed our whole model in a week. It would have to take them months. So that's one advantage of being small. Yeah, right?
Do you have any pending patents?
No, patents, we have trademarks. We can't rely on patents too much. First of all, because if you think of something, it's already been patented. This is what we like to call patent trolls. Apple gets about 100 patents a day. There's a patent out there for a red button. There's a patent out there for a stick. Everything in this room is patentable. It's been patented. Patents cost about $20,000 just a pen. They're expensive. That's just for the fees. You have to talk about lawyer fees. Lawyer fees are ridiculous. They do about an hour of work. Their paralegal do 2 hours of work and charge for 10 hours of work. I mean, they're expensive, and they really can't protect you as much as you think. This day and age, right? As long as you document everything and have proof that because there's a lot of change from first to invent to first to implement. If I come up with an idea, I write it down, and I try to patent it, and I just want to be a patent troll, wait for someone to do it and sue them, you can't do that anymore. It got to change. Because the good people like Apple and Google were suing everybody, and it really wasn't fair. So now, you have an idea, you have to put it in e-commerce action, and then you're safe. So patents, they're good to have. They're good to have for paper. When you're sitting in front of somebody, you say, oh, you protect it? Oh, I have a patent. They go, oh, okay. And most people don't know what that means. But we have trademarks. We like to have a patent, but I guarantee you this has already been patented. Everything's been patented. Go to the United States government trademark/patent office and look up patents. Type in blue in a patent. I mean, I promise you, I'm not kidding. Everything has a patent to it. Anything else? Yeah.
I just graduated in December. Do you have any advice for the post-college life, entrepreneurial life?
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. I mean, I don't know if you have a job now, but I didn't graduate with a lot of money. My goal in life was to be an entrepreneur, to work 2 years out of college, come back with some money, and take over my family business. So when you graduate, and the competition definitely helped, I would suggest you think ahead. Start now. How are you gonna pay for rent? How are you gonna live? I don't know what kind of business you have, or what you need to buy. You know, if you want to bring people on, are you gonna pay them? I couldn't pay my partner. He's a valuable asset. So I said, I'll make you CTO and give you 50% of the company. So if I didn't give him 50%, he would have got a part-time job and could do this full-time. So I had to make sure he was going to stay with me, because he had student loans to pay. I had 3 job offers out of college. He had one for $60,000 here in Knoxville, and he said no. Why? Because I gave him 50% of the company and made him an executive, and that was enough to keep him on board. We live off, we each pay ourselves $600 a month. Rent's $475. Do math, right? I mean, if it wasn't my graduation money, I probably couldn't have any fun at all. So, I mean, be thinking about that, and I advise you to be thinking about, if you do get in a jam, what are you going to do? Are you going to take out a small business loan? Yeah, I mean, without a huge cosigner, they're not going to give you a loan, especially now. Are you going to ask your parents for money? Are you going to give them a percentage to them? Because a bad thing about raising money, you guys know about angels and VCs? when you're a pre-revenue company, they'll give you about $200,000, about 45% of your company. So the best thing to do is have a plan to make revenue, prove you can make money, have leverage, get invited to these conferences, present to all these VCs, get multiple offers and leverage them. I'm not getting a 45% for $200,000. I'll give a 45% for $3-4 million. You take it. You're right. So I would advise you to think in the future. How are you going to fund it? Because as much as this sucks, passion and doesn't pay anything. So it sucks, right? So I would advise you to think about how you're going to fund it and get involved. And I promise you, if you call someone for Tech 2020, they'll let you meet with somebody, and it's going to help. Because as smart as you guys are, or think you are, it's not relevant to being an entrepreneur in the real world. Like I'm learning every day. So just keep, have that swagger about you, have that little arrogance, have that little pep in your step, because you are young and passionate. You have a lot ahead of you. You don't have a family to feed. So what's the worst you have to lose? But at the same time, listen. And it was hard for me because I like to talk in meetings like this, and I'm always the guy in class, my hand up, knowing a teacher. That was always me. But when you're in a room full of people that know more than you and they're taking the time to give you advice, just shut up and write stuff down, and talk when someone speaks to you. That's my advice. So start thinking about how you're going to start funding that business. Anything else?
Did you have a particularly bad experience at a restaurant that prompted this, or was it just something at necessity for class?
No, and I come to the conclusion that people that say, oh, it's great, I had this horrible experience, I thought about this idea, I think that's mostly crap. It's not, that's not true. They're just trying to run a good interview or a good show. There wasn't one, everyone has had bad experience at restaurants, and I wanted the idea in class to be something about a restaurant. So I was thinking, like I said, and I was like, I go to restaurants for food. If the service is okay, I don't care. I just want to go for food, right? If the food sucks and service is great, are you guys going to go to a restaurant? Probably not. So I was thinking, how can I fix that? How can I go to a restaurant that I like to eat at without making sure that bad experience won't happen again? So things like that. But people who say, oh, I waited 3 hours one day, and I think that's a bunch of crap. Just from personal experience, from hearing people, I don't think it's true, but it makes for a good story. I'm a hypocrite, because when I presented for the business plan competition, I said that. I said, I had a terrible experience at a restaurant. It was terrible. Wait staff was terrible. I wanted to order dessert, and when the waiter got back, it was too late. I had a movie to catch. God. Another thing, when you guys present, I'm up here talking. When I present, I would never stand still and have Natour's voice. I'm always. God, I was sitting there and I was waiting for that server. About 10 minutes go by, and the server came to me. By then, I was just too full for the food settled in. I was too tired. My girlfriend was nagging me, a movie to catch. And, it's very important to be. No one wants to listen to someone telling a story like this. You got to be, and it's not easy to do. At that conference, when there was 300 people staring at me, and I was on a stage, and our PowerPoint wouldn't work, and everybody else's would, and the audio wouldn't work. I was sweating bullets inside, but on the stage, oh, good. Now you can just focus on me, And then prepare for stuff like that is important. And being on your toes when people ask you questions, like the other day when he asked me 30 questions in 3 minutes, 80% were accurate and right. Other 20% were not accurate, but he didn't know that. I knew it was kind of BS, but he thinks I was on my game. And there's a guy named Guy Kawasaki. He's like the guru in Silicon Valley when it comes to startups and raising money. He has like 12 books published. He's a venture capitalist himself. In one of the books called The Art to Start, he said the world is 80% true and 20% bullshit. So why can't you do it too, right? So learn to do that. And a good way is, just like I said, I was a kid in the class, my hand up. I did a lot of mock interviews when I was here at UT, and one of the things, I did like 4 of them, and one of the things that she did to me was she would pick a random topic, whether I knew stuff about it or not. I didn't know it was hermit crabs. And she would ask me all these questions about hermit crabs, and I had to answer like I knew what I was talking about, but trying to be relevant. You can't say, you can't completely BS. You can't say, my car can go from 0 to 60 in less than a second. It can fly in the air. I mean, you can't. You have to be a little bit knowledgeable, but you can still white lie, buy you some time. Any more questions? I feel like you guys should ask more questions about this kind of stuff, because you can't be too honest sometimes, and you guys hold stuff close to your chest. But when you're put in a position, when you're in front of somebody that can help you, when it's important, and you don't know the answer, you better come up with an answer, and it better be good. So, and there's a lot of activities and exercises to help you with that. How big is a hermit crab?
About this big.
How many inches?
I'd say probably 1.5 inches.
You say 1.5 inches? I'm not convinced, you know? Hermit crab is 1.5 inches. Some can have both female and male parts, you know?
Well, you said like activities and exercises, like where did you find those? I know you said one was.
I took an hour class on business relations. It didn't count to my college credit. It was an hour class. I met an hour a week. It was hosted by Career Services. Like I said, guys, I'm kind of a nerd, so I took this class, and they kind of told you about this kind of things. And I was a management major, and I picked management as my major because I liked logistics. I didn't love it. I liked finance. I appreciated accounting. I liked marketing, but I just didn't want to focus. And is anyone a management major here? Yeah, you'll like it because you learn a little bit about everything, and you're putting in a lot of group activities that seem corny at the time, and that seem just stupid, and all you want to do is leave class. But if you take it seriously, and like take a negotiations class seriously, even though the teacher's a real nut job and he's really funny, but if you just take some classes seriously, and it really can help. Help won't perfect anything, but it'll help. And read too. Like I said, Guy Kawasaki. Like the fact that I mentioned Tech 2020 and some names and Guy Kawasaki, and nobody's written it down already. If I'm in a meeting with important people, that's rude. When I met with the VCs last week, and I wasn't writing things down, that's rude. I don't care, but other people will. And if I was giving you guys my time and trying to give you guys my money, I would think twice about it. When I present for competitions and I conferences, 300 people look at me, I have a notepad and they're asking me questions. So as long as you guys write stuff down too. I mean, I'm sure you guys have great memories, but at the same time, write it down. At least pretend to write, just to make you feel, or whatever you want to feel like you're taking something away. Because I mean, because people do want to help. I mean, I'm here because hopefully I shed some light on some certain topics and how scary the world is sometimes. But that's one thing I would everybody do: write stuff down or doodle, pretend, because people do care about that. I've been called out on it before, and I was embarrassed big time. And don't be afraid; no one else is doing it. You know, be that nerd. It's one more thing that's going to separate you from anybody else. Anything that can separate you from anybody else, whether it's a quirky thing or a good thing, it's so important. Because how many people have graduated from Continuing Business School? 500? That's one school. Auburn, you know, Harvard, MIT, Berkeley. They're graduating just as many kids, just as much as you guys. So you have to come off different somehow. When I go into this conference, 45 companies are presenting. It's a 3-day event, and 800 VCs will be there. A board member, that's the VC at Meredith Ventures, said we would be the youngest kids there. So I told Seth, we're going to shave, and we're going to dress like young kids. Because if they forget our presentation, they will remember, oh, those are those 2 kids who have that order nap. Because that stuff matters. You got to think about that kind of stuff. What separates you? I'm not 45. I don't have, you know, I didn't have a $3,000 suit. I'm gonna be in jeans and button down, you know, as a 23-year-old with that crazy idea. So small things like that, you know, you gotta separate yourself, because doesn't matter how smart you are, there's smart kids everywhere. Yeah.
What was the biggest adjustment going from like finishing college to being out and still working on the project?
This roof, this area, this is a shelter. You know, there's so many resources that people just want to help you for no reason. Your professors, oh, you're in school, that's great, you know? What are you gonna do afterwards? Get a job? That's awesome, right? That was the biggest change. Because as soon as I graduated, and as soon as I didn't have class anymore, there was nobody but me and my buddy Seth. My parents told me, which job offer are you gonna take? And my parents love me. They support me in everything I do. They looked at me like I was a fucking idiot when I told them I was gonna do it. When I was in college, oh, Joey, that's fantastic, go for it. Go to that competition. They were there when I won it. They came, my little brother saw me get my plaque and get my check. That's great. What are you gonna do now? What? It was a great idea. Win this competition. What do you want to do now? I'm gonna pursue it. What am I gonna do now? So the shelter and the way people react to you, there's gonna be some people out there who's been an entrepreneur and say, you know, that's a great idea. Is there anything I can do to help? Let me know. And there's gonna be people out there who look at you like you're an idiot. And when I met people anywhere, I used to tell them, hey, I won a competition. Hey, I won a grant. I won a competition. I don't say it anymore. I just signed the CEO of Dinetouch. We do this with my head held high. You gotta take pride in what you do, and people. Will Overstreet was a defensive end here at University of Tennessee. You guys know who Will Overstreet is? It's awesome, awesome player. Got drafted 3rd round, Atlanta Falcons. Got paid lots of money. He quit football to start his own company here. It's called Voices Heard Media. He's the CEO of that, and I talk to him regularly. Unlike him, I wasn't a millionaire when I started my business, but he raised about $2 million to start his business. And he made a lot of connections with ESPN and Disney while he was in the NFL, so that helped him. And he told me that I'm 23, at the time I was 22, but as long as you produce results, people aren't going to care how old you are. If you're making the money or providing value for the world, they're not going to care. But for the people that don't come around, you know, screw it. Not, you know, I mean, not every product's gonna be for everybody. The guy who invented Snuggies, the more I'm there now, you don't see me around with a Snuggie in my couch, you know. So this is a shelter. Take advantage of it while you're here and you want to have a business, or even you just want to get a regular job. I mean, you can still think about how to make yourself different and how to add value, how to take initiative. There's people like that. You know, there's a lot of kids out there who don't go to college. There's a lot of kids out there who do that don't present themselves in the manner that you should be presented in. So, you know, take pride in, you know, I guess how you look. And I'm sorry, I'm not a fancy dresser. I don't have style. I'm not Mr. GQ, but I mean, at least I look nice, right? I mean, ish. I didn't come in with holes in my jeans and, you know, piercing holes in my face. So, take pride in what you do. Be confident, and you'll find people who want to help. Because you got to look in the right places, like Tech 2020 and all the incubators around. We live in what you call the Innovation Valley, and you have Nashville, Chattanooga, and Knoxville, and we really are big in entrepreneurship. I wouldn't say high growth tech companies, but for entrepreneurship, it's a big area, and there's a lot of people who do want to help. And there are people who have money that want to give it to you to make them more money. Finding them is not always easy, but that's why you have a board. Anything else?
Speaking of those resources that you miss the most from school, like shelter and whatnot, which ones did you find like that you wanted the most now that you're out? Like, which ones do you wish you had used more?
The database, I never used that in college. Even when I was doing the business competition, we just never used it. We just Googled everything.
Right.
You can find valuable resources, but these reports, the one we got, and we weren't supposed to do it, but whatever, find this. The one report we got was a $15,000, 200-page report that companies pay for. $15,000. We got our buddy James, who's a roommate of Seth's, to come type in his username and password. And we download it and we put it on our server. We don't send it out in emails or we don't save it to our computer. We just put it in our server, so you can't really find it. So we're trying to protect ourselves a little bit.
Which database was that on?
It's IBIS World, IBIS World,
Oh, okay.
and it's a decently good research. It's better than Googling. And if you stay at IBIS World, the people in the business world, they'll know what you're talking about. And it's better than Wikipedia. So, and also, I miss my teachers. I miss, when you have a question, you have somebody who's supposed to be an expert on that topic, and they can tell you the answer. When you're out in the real world, nobody, even your board of advisors, even smart people that have been successful, nobody knows your business like you do. So they advise you. It's my decision. They don't make decisions for me because they don't know everything. So there's no expert to ask. I can get advice from them, but my decision is never based on their advice because it's. If I want to help with my projections for my forecast, they couldn't do it. If I ask them, hey, what's the norm? How do I get a dialogue with a VC or stuff like that? They can help me with that.
Yeah.
But regarding my business, that's on me. And that hurdle we hit, that we were stuck for 2 months, that was my fault. I went for the big fish to integrate with a POS system. They're called micros. They're really big around here. And I had 2 decisions. I can try to go big or go home, or I can get a smaller POS company and see if they work with us more. About a month and a half, we were stuck based on my decision. So that's been, I think, my costly decision. And we wasted a month and a half because I screwed up. We learned a lot from that screw up. In that month and a half, we did a lot of research and we learned a lot. But I screwed up, and now we have a smaller company. Instead of 130,000 restaurants, we have 20,000 restaurants, and we integrated with them. So you're going to screw up. And I wasn't proud of myself, and it sucked. We lost a month and a half of time. But, oh well, you can't cry for spilled milk. I don't cry ever, so. Anything else?
All right.
Oh, thank you. No, appreciate it.
Guys, we ordered t-shirts, so we're going to show you this tonight. They're $10, which is pretty cheap for a t-shirt, and they look really good. That money's going to be going towards pizza, of course, and also our national dues. So if you could buy one, we appreciate it. Wear it around a little bit, advertise for it a little bit.
If anyone wants to.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, appreciate having me. Yeah.
This is our website, by the way.
That database is like perfect. If you need like a SWOT analysis, like you did when you class, just type it in. Bam, some companies already done it.
This is the front of the t-shirt, and then that's on the back. But if anyone wants to, just let who wants to do it? Okay, just let her know and write down like your size so that we can, order that here in the next couple of days. So that'd be great.
Oh, we got coffee mugs too.
Yeah.
They're $10. You pass it. They're actually pretty nice. Let's see, Thursday, we're going to be passing out flyers for the business planning competition, which is coming up. He was talking about it. If any of you guys want to get involved, I'd really appreciate it if you help me a little bit. It won't take maybe like 30 minutes.
Which city? Sorry.
We're we're gonna pass out flyers Thursday for the business planning competition. If you wanna help, just, I guess, get in contact with one of us. The week after that, we're gonna set up a kiosk in the UC and do some other stuff. So I'll be in contact with you guys. Thanks for coming out. Hope you enjoyed it. And see you in a couple weeks.
See you next week.
In 2 weeks?
Hey, do you remember when Bill Foster was this Thursday?
I didn't see any the battery's pretty new. It's not
Anyways, see you later. Still hard. So yeah, no, we're trying to do more stuff like we've only
Only help me fight econ homework.
Is that a threat?